Welcome back to the Courtside Session Studio. We have another episode coming for you right now. Now, this one's going to be a little bit unique compared to some of the Grand Slam champions, pro touring, and college coaches that we've had, and top players. Today, we're going to be joined by an industry expert who I admire a lot. It's Corbin Gapski, a legend in his own right. How you feeling, Corbin?
Hey, Kevin. Means a lot to be here. Thank you.
I love it. Corbin's actually out from Texas, where he's based as a territory manager for Diadem Sports. If you guys follow along on his socials or even the Diadem Sports socials, or you tune into Diacon, you'll definitely recognize Corbin.
Yeah, it'll be 4 years in July, so been through some incredible moments. And you came on about 2 years ago, so it really means a lot to work with you day in and day out.
Yeah, definitely. It's awesome. It's really great to have you here. I think something that's unique about Corbin in this podcast is usually for junior players, parents, and coaches, is that Corbin doesn't necessarily come from a tennis background, but I think the athletics played a huge part in your life, right?
Yeah, so my background is college baseball, or baseball in general. So I had an opportunity to be recruited to play college baseball. So being around sports my whole life was a huge part of my life, like the junior tennis players that you interact with here day in and day out. But, my path is a lot different. So I had some hurdles, some obstacles, but it got me to here. So, again, you wouldn't change the path any other way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the more interesting things about your athletic journey is kind of an experience that happened to you when you got to college. You thought you were going to be a baseball player for all 4 years, right?
Yep. And that's not what happened. Spoiler alert. So played my freshman year, and I chose my college, Fairleigh Dickinson University, Northern New Jersey, because I wanted to work in sport. So I thought, hey, while I'm doing baseball, I can get internships in New York City. So build out my resume, but also at the same time play the sport I love. My sophomore year, I got cut from the team and didn't see that coming. And I think everyone that you sit down with, they see themselves as a professional tennis player or they go into that next level. And my journey was cut very short in my college run. And I felt sorry for myself for 2 days. So I want to make that clear for the record that I was in my whoopee blanket. I was crying for 2 days, but after 2 days, I'm like, all right, well, no one's feeling sorry for you, so what are you going to do about this?
And that's where I think this really gets interesting is, and something that players, parents, and coaches can take at home is the way that you handled that adversity and I think really maximize your experience there afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I remember the spot I was sitting at in my dorm where I said, like, well, you can't go back to baseball now, so what are you going to do about it? So I marched over to the athletic department, and I said, hey, guys, obviously, I'm a baseball player here. I just got cut. So I think I want to work in sports. So what can I do to help out? So I just started volunteering in every single facet of an athletic department. And again, Fairleigh Dickinson gave me that opportunity. So a really hands-on athletic department where they always can have an extra set of hands to help out, and just dove in anywhere I could. Cleaning up sweat at the basketball games, laundry, athletic communications, academic advising, mascotting, you name it. I just like, hey, let me jump in. Love to help out.
And I want to hear a little bit more about the mascotting because I think that's pretty interesting and really speaks to a little bit about your personality too.
Yeah. So my dad was a dairy farmer, and my mom was also raised in upstate New York. But there was just something about me growing up. I always wanted to be the center of attention at family gatherings and parties. So when I saw that the mascot costume was sitting in the corner over there, I was like, I'll wear that tonight if you need me to. And they gave me a chance to jump around and act like myself. Now, I love to talk, so you can't talk in a mascot uniform. So that was a unique experience. But I recommend everyone try that at least once because, again, you can just be the goofiest you want and nobody knows it's you.
Yeah, I think that's cool. Any of the high school players out there, maybe take advantage. Go in your athletic department office and say, hey, I want to wear this suit this week and see how that goes.
Yeah, well, it's a good conversation starter. I mean, you think about the people you're going to run into in your life, and if you can start a conversation and saying like, oh, I used to be a mascot once. You don't know the doors that opens of just like the conversation you have because, in life you want to build relationships. You want to get to know people over time. And if you have something unique about you, that could be one. So jump in a mascot costume. See what brings you.
And I do think that there was maybe a silver lining to the level of resiliency you showed, and you actually ended up finishing out your career there back on the baseball team, right?
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. So after I got cut my sophomore year, I started volunteering in the athletic department. That led into junior year, and I did the same exact thing. So I was really enjoying my college experience, but I had a lunch with the baseball coach, and I was asked to come back onto the team my senior year. And again, I was talking to the interns here at Diadem today, and I told them, hey guys, you guys are 21 and 19 years old here. You think you're doing this internship for a certain purpose. I think there's an even better plan that's ready for you that you don't know is coming. So just keep your head down, just keep doing the right thing, and something even better is going to happen. Because when you play a sport in college, and I don't want to deter people from playing sports in college, it's a great opportunity, but that's a full-time job. You're the hours and the time you put into that. I wanted to be a baseball player and I wanted to work in sports, but you can't really do both. So that opportunity, that 2-year window of my sophomore and junior year to serve in an athletic department and do internships, that allowed me to build my resume. Then the coach says, hey, we want you back on the team for your senior year. So I got to do both. And not a lot of people can say they got to build out a resume and play for a college team in their lives. So I was really thankful for that. But yeah, it's truly resilience. Again, just keep doing the right thing. And I'm sure there's a great plan for everybody.
Yeah, totally. And I think that really relates to the ups and downs that tennis players experience throughout their career. You experienced some downs, but that didn't let you hold you down, and you got back up in the end, which is awesome.
Yeah. And again, I just want to reiterate that point one more time, because in sports, again, you can listen to so many different podcasts, so many different speakers about like the grit and the hard work and the grind and persevering through things. But again, I want to go back to the point that I'm making, because maybe it's a little bit different than what they've heard in the past, is what you're doing right now is setting you up for something even greater in the future that you don't even know is going to come. And it's going to be something even better than you could ever imagine. So I want to give them that encouragement. But the key thing also to always do the right thing as well. I think sometimes culturally we can, any way to get to the top, no matter what you have to do to get to the top, that's not the right thing. Doing the right thing is the most important thing. It's always the right time to do the right thing. So I want to make sure they know that as well. Yeah,
that's great. And I think the idea of sort of doing the right thing now and that there's going to be a larger payback later is probably something that happened in your younger professional career, and even now as it relates back to lessons you learned playing sports and how that's impacted you as a professional, right?
Absolutely. You don't know how many interactions you're going to have with people, but I always wanted to make sure when they heard the name Corbin Gapski, or Corbin in general, because, there's not a lot of Corbins out there. That name's starting to get a little more popular, but like I always wanted to leave an impression with people saying like, hey, like, whenever I hear the name Corbin or Corbin Gapski, I want them to think like, hey, he was a nice guy. Oh, he was funny. He was hardworking. Now, also, I have burned bridges. I think all of us have burned some type of a bridge in the past. And that's also, I want to say like, hey, never burn a bridge. I mean, if you have to separate yourself from a situation, you can do that, but never burn a bridge, because at the end of the day, the life that we live is short. We think it's a long life, but we have to make sure we keep in mind just the relationships. You don't know when those are going to circle back around. So just always making sure you leave on a good note, leaving on a good impression, and just doing the right thing is something I've really tried to hone in on, taking pride in.
Yeah, and that's something that I think players, parents, and coaches can do and apply to their life every single day after hearing that from you here.
Absolutely. You don't know when you're going to circle back around, because the pond is a lot smaller than you think it is. So it's going to come back around where you're going to meet that person again one way or another. Or maybe, you played with a player in tennis, and then in the future you become a coach, and then maybe you are coaching that person's kid down the road.
Totally.
And hey, let's say Sophia as a young lady's name. She becomes a coach. Like, oh, now Sophia's a coach. I used to play with Sophia, just an incredible character, just an incredible person. Like, yeah, I'd love to reconnect with them and be a part of their tennis academy, let's just say. So
yeah, and I think tennis is such a small world that those relationships are always circling back, and something that you probably see every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And Now, again, professionally or in life, prior to Diadem, bridges can be burned or things could happen in your life. But I learned really quickly in the tennis industry, there's things I wanted to say, or I was like, hey, I want to be right on this point, so I'm going to die on this hill. But there's just a hand on my shoulder that goes like, don't say it. Because, and I'm super glad I didn't, because there's been so many times I've circled around the pond. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're here now. And if I burn that bridge or trying to be right, I think that's a big thing that people want nowadays is to be right. And it's not always about being right. It's about doing the right thing. So just keep moving forward. And again, there's some people that I could have burned a bridge with, and I just kept circling around the pond. And at the end of the day, it came back around where I got to run into them again. And now they're some of my closest friends. And that's something I've taken pride in my role is becoming friends with these accounts in a sense, making sure there's some type of separation, because again, it is a professional relationship, but having a respectful friendship as well is key as well.
Yeah, totally. Something that I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about is not coming from a tennis background. Once you start at Diadem Sports, you obviously have to learn about the products and the culture and everything. What was that process like for you?
Oh yeah, that's a fun question to talk about. Again, it goes back to that. You just don't know the work that you're putting in now is setting you up for something even greater down the road. I always wanted to make sure I had somewhat of a competent answer when someone asked me a question on something. So when I joined Diadem in 2020 officially, I basically started a Diadem University. I went on YouTube and watched every single video that had the word Diadem in it. So I just started building a playlist of videos and having my headphones plugged in and just listening to the videos all over again, learning the lingo in tennis and learning the product and learning about stiffness and learning about balance and rackets and learning about what makes a Diadem string different from other strings in the industry. Because again, I love baseball. So I could talk about just the difference in balance of a baseball bat all day long, but no tennis background whatsoever. And I told my clients that in meetings. Clients will know really quickly the genuineness of yourself, but also who you really are. And I'll say to them meetings hey, I'm not going to be able to rally back and forth with you on a tennis court right now, but I'm going to make sure I get the right piece of equipment to you and your club and your members and make sure that you're set up for success. Because my job is to make their job easier. And that's why I always tell them, if I'm not making your job easier, stop working with me. So that's what I did at Diadem, was just learning the product and just building out a playbook of just how to talk about product in different ways. And it's paid off.
That's awesome. And then your kind of, I guess, first foray was boots on the ground in Texas, right? We Diadem sent you out there at the early stages of the company to grow the primarily at that time the tennis business out there. How did you assimilate into the tennis culture of Texas? Yeah.
Well, my story is I had never been to Texas before I moved out there, so I wasn't familiar with Texas whatsoever. When I sat down with Evan and Michael and AJ early on, we said okay, we're gonna go out to Texas. And again, we're tennis at this time. We looked at a map of in Texas where the most tennis courts were. And we saw it was Houston, Texas. But when we saw all the tennis courts, we're all right, let's go to Houston. Let's do that. A lot of those tennis courts there are in people's backyards, and I'm not going to do door-to-door sales. And if they told me to, I would. But when I got there, I just realized yes, they have an incredible presence of country clubs and academies there, but a lot of those tennis courts were in people's backyards. So when I got there, I'm I don't know where to start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump on social media and join forums and just learn the community here in Houston, Texas, who's who, meaning what are people talking about in the area, what tournaments are coming up, who are the people talking most about tennis. And that's how I kind of got started. Was I just said hey, because trying to get in touch with a country club, that process is a grind. And when you pull up to a country club, they have respective security there. You can't just be hey, I'm going to stop in just to introduce myself. It doesn't work like that. You got to make sure you have a meeting, and they're on the court all day. So again, to get those meetings, it's a lot of work, and we can talk about that. But the key thing is, you have to find a way. And I think like that's something that people can respect in the tennis game as a player is like, hey, find a way to win.
Totally.
You got to find a way to win. You can't accept defeat. You have to find a way to just go a little bit further. In an exercise or a workout, you have to find a way to win. You have to find a way to get to the end. You have to find a way to get through this tournament with that injury that's nagging on you. So I think that's a really key thing that I told myself, because when I moved out to Texas, and we won't talk about the story in detail. If they want, they can call me. I'll tell them the story.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
You know, just to respect clients out there. I had a plan out in Texas. Hey, I'm going to go to this account, and I'm going to go to this account, and I'm going to sell them Diadem tennis, and they're going to love it. I brought the tennis racket into the meetings. They looked at them like they were baseball bats. So they like, why are you bringing these tennis rackets that we never heard of into our place here? So I'm like, okay, they're not going to be an account of mine. So I have to find a way to win either way. I can't just call Evan and Michael and say, hey guys, they don't want our stuff. So I guess let's just call it a day and go home.
Pack it up.
Got to find a way to win. That's why I went on social media and got to know everybody there. And then after that, it's just like, it's referrals. You know, it's just, again, going back to just like doing the right thing. And when you show your true character to people, people want to help people that are just good people. So that's where I've really kind of leveraged my relationships, is just that networking aspect. People really know quickly through networking or referrals if you're going after a different agenda or if you have the wrong intentions.
Totally.
But when they know that you're out there grinding, you gave me the credit for that, or boots on the ground, they see that you're trying your best out there, people will give you the opportunity. It may not happen in the timing that you want it to be, but it will come where that work will pay off and the right person will introduce.
And I hear those stories in junior tennis all the time where a player's on the court training and they're really giving it all they got. They show up, they're consistent, they're there, and then that gives them more opportunities to work with other coaches because people see them, they get more resources provided because they're willing to put in the time, put in the work, be there. And so that's really cool that you see that in your professional life as well.
And just to bounce it off of you, the key word that you just said is consistency. And that's one of my values. I think I would encourage and challenge the viewers to have those core values, because again, life and society and culture will tell you that you need to go after this in life or you need to go after that. You need to find your 3 core values and stick to them at the end of the day. And one of mine is consistency. And I didn't even know that word has been with me since I was 8 years old, and Cal Ripken Jr. was my favorite baseball player because he played the most consecutive baseball games. But that word was something that stuck with me long ago. I just like Cal Ripken for the character he was as a baseball player. But that's what I do day in and day out in my role, is just be consistent here at Diadem to make sure that Evan, Michael, AJ can trust me out in that market to best represent our brand. But also, you said the same thing with the junior tennis players, consistency. People see that. They consistently show up with the right attitude.
Yep.
That's more than half the battle.
Oh, yeah.
Is showing up with the right attitude. Not just showing up, because some people say just showing up is half the battle. Showing up with the right attitude is, probably more than half the battle at the end of the day. Because skill, you can work on your skill. Some people are given a God talent and ability. But at the end of the day, consistency with your attitude is something you can control.
Yeah, for sure. I always say that the only 2 things you really can control is your attitude and your effort. But exactly. I would love to hear the other 2 core values that you have besides consistency. What are those?
Yeah, so in addition to consistency is making sure that there's impact as well. Mm-hmm. So impacting, what are you doing today right now that you will impact the people around you? So if you are just getting out there, not just waiting for life to come your way and give you opportunities, but impact is a way of that you can impact and you can give onto others. So that's a big one, is your impact, your consistency, but also communication as well. Just constantly communicating with people to making sure that you know that what you're going after, things that you stand for, and making sure that you are consistently showing that through impact and giving.
That's awesome. I think those are all 3 things that junior tennis players especially can apply on a daily basis when they're out on the courts, is being consistent, making an impact, and hit me with the third one?
Communication.
And communicating it, making sure people know that they're there to do those things,
Absolutely.
Which is great. And so let's talk a little bit more about the growth of Diadem in Texas and how
Sure.
you've been able to do that. Because you mentioned, which I thought was kind of interesting, that people looked at the rackets, what was that, 4 years ago, as kind of like alien rackets. And now, most recently, we had main draw or French Open Diadem rackets on the court there. So it's probably in large part due to some of the impacts that you've made.
Yeah, you know what? I was really hoping we were going to have a chance to talk about that because, again, the key thing I want to talk about in this podcast is the ability to realize what you're doing right now is going to set you up for something even greater down the road. So let me just tell you the story here in a nutshell. We started the company with a tennis string and then a tennis ball and then a tennis racket, or the tennis racket came before the tennis ball. Let me correct myself there. But at the end of the day, how we were trying to get into the market was a tennis ball. It was our extra duty premier ball. Now it's the official ball of UTR, which is an incredible accomplishment. But back in 2020, our tennis ball was a tennis ball. Mm-hmm. And I would call facilities and clubs every day, hey, love to get you some tennis balls to your club. I'm all set. I've been with Wilson for 30 years. Bang, they hang up the phone on me. Hey, I'm Corbin from Diadem. Oh, I love your shoes. No, not Diadora. No, Diadem.
That's classic.
Hey, I want to sell you some tennis balls. I've been with Penhead or Head Pen for 15 years. Bang, hang up the phone. I'm all set. No, don't worry about it. Hey, my members won't play with anything else. Bang, they hang up the phone. So I'm grinding, Kevin. I'm grinding. Mm-hmm. And I'm working like my normal days there, being consistent. And all of a sudden, November of 2020, my phone started to ring. If you're in sales like I am, your phone doesn't ring much. An inbound call is a gift. At the end of the day, your job is the outbound call. So all of a sudden, my phone started ringing. Those same people that said, like, hey, Corbin, hey, this is so-and-so from so-and-so club. Hey, how are you? Hey, you still have those tennis balls there? Yeah? Well, all right, send me 12 cases. Phone will ring again. Hey, Corbin, this is so-and-so from so-and-so club. Hey, what's going on? Hey, I need 21 cases. Can you get them out today? Mm-hmm. Yeah. All of a sudden, we just started learning about these logistical issues and just getting tennis balls from around the world was a difficult task. And Diadem was the only one that had tennis balls. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. Like, look at all of this opportunity from planting all those seeds. And when we're in sales meetings and when I sit down with Evan and I'm trying to drive home what makes Diadem, Texas differently from everything else, is I tell them it's all farming. It's all planting. It's all planting seeds. You have to look at your work or look at your craft like it's a field that you're harvesting. I'm just throwing out some seeds here. You plant some watermelon seeds. You plant some corn. You plant some rose bushes. You just plant these different things. You plant some pumpkins. You plant some blueberries. Whatever you do. Mm-hmm. But you just find a way to slowly let those crops come up at the right time. And I'm not saying that all of them come up at the same time, but if you plant seeds in life in different areas, they're going to harvest at different times at just the right time. That's the key thing, is they always pop up at the right time. So again, I was planting those seeds like, hey, this is Corbin from Diadem. I want to get some tennis balls out to you. And I'm all set. Bang. Get frustrated. Bang. And all of a sudden they're calling us saying like, all right, hey, you left that impression on me. I know I could get tennis balls from you. I'm going to call you back. Now, to finish the story here, something amazing happened the following spring. We have something called pickleball here at Diadem.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a huge driver for us. So since I was planting those seeds, Kevin, of all those tennis ball sales, all those tennis racket sales, when pickleball came around, Diadem really invested a lot into our paddles. Mm-hmm. And absolutely no shade at any other brand on this podcast, but the other representations at the clubs I was working at, their line of pickleball paddles were not doing the work.
Especially at that time.
At that time especially. So since those brands have been in those respective clubs for 30 years, 15 years, they were given the first chance at it, but they missed their chance because they had that one guy, Corbin from Diadem, constantly calling them. And when I called them that next time to check in on their next tennis ball order, and I would say, hey, we also just came out with pickleball recently. Really? Well, hey, send me half a dozen pickleball paddles. Let me try these things out and see what they're like. And they got them. And again, Evan, AJ, Michael, they just put so much time, energy, and effort into making these paddles perfect that allowed us to skyrocket as their premier pickleball partner at their club. And I was like, holy cow. Again, if I didn't put in that work on the tennis business side, I would have never gotten this harvest from all this pickleball business. So now, again, you build that trust over time, that communication and that consistency and the impact of letting them know, like, hey, I'm here to help your club be the best club that they can be. So you go back to those core values, and they see that. And that's when they say, well, hey, now tell me about your tennis rackets. You make good pickleball paddles. I don't think you'd make junk tennis rackets. So, send me some demos. Let me see. And once, that's the key thing with Diadem, and Evan would echo this point. If you hit with our product, you're going to like it. You just have to get it. You have to have that openness putting in your hand. So that's a key thing.
Totally. And I really, really love that story about the seeds and the whole concept, because I think that's something in junior tennis, especially where there's so many different aspects of player's game and success, from the mental side to the technique side to your diet, nutrition, to recovery, and all these different things that you have to work on day in and day out, so that during the match, when you're down a break and you need to fight back to win, those seeds will pop out at the right time. The mental stuff that you've been working on for weeks will pop out. The extra sprints and push-ups that you did are going to pop out when you need the extra burst. All those little things are going to come to fruition when the time's right.
You couldn't have said it better, and I'm not even going to add to that point. You just hit it the nail right on the head there. I hope people re-listen to that over and over again. They rewind that 15 seconds, because those seeds are going to pop at the right time. Oh,
yeah, 100%. And I'm really excited to learn a little bit more about, obviously, like we said, you've been crushing it in Texas. What's next for Team Texas and Corbin?
Yeah, so Team Texas is, first of all, I want to make perfectly clear, is not Corbin Gapski. It is Team Texas. And here internally at Diadem, I have a young lady, Madison, that works with me day in and day out. And it's really nice. And again, this is just encouragement to people listening to the podcast. You have to find someone to lock arms with. You have to find someone that will go in the trenches with you and grind with it. When I was talking to the interns earlier, I talked about challenging them to find a mentor, someone that they can look up to. But you also have to find someone that will lock arms with you and go into battle with you at the end of the day. So day in and day out, I work with a young lady named Madison. So that's Team Texas. But also, to unpack a little bit more, Team Texas is the country clubs that we work with, the facilities that we work with, the academies we work with, the teaching pros that we work with. So anytime I've given any credit at Diadem, I make sure to say, well, it's not me, and it's not even Madison. It is the people that are introducing us to others in the tennis and the pickleball community. And again, I've always talked about the importance of referrals and the importance of getting to know the next person in the community. So Madison and I were given the news that we are expanding our territory. Not only will we be servicing Texas, but we also be servicing Arizona, New Mexico, and Oklahoma. And I'm just really excited about that. Just in a lot of different areas. We have my fiance and I, Michelle, we have family out in Arizona. So we're excited to see them. So to be able to balance work and life and do life with people like in your family, that's really exciting. But also there's just so much out there that Diadem, we could make sure we introduce to them. So to wash, rinse, repeat, making sure that boots on the ground, they're shaking a hand and meeting someone from the brand that they may not be used to seeing from other brands is going to stand out. It's going to show hey, you drove out here to meet me, show me product, maybe get me some samples and go the extra mile. I want to work with you for the next 30 years. So again, I want to respect competition, but in 30 years from now, I hope there are some accounts that say, I've been working with Diadem for 30 years. And they don't have to say, I've been working with Corbin from Diadem for 30 years. I just want to leave an impact. And I hope the same thing with these young men and women that are listening to your podcast as tennis players. When they go into the tennis academy, they look back and they go I had that player Johnny that was in here day in and day out, and then maybe they put a little plaque of hey, these were warriors that we had here at the academy that left an impression. And I hope Madison and I do that as well here at Diadem, where, Diadem's around for a very long time.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what you guys are able to do in your expanded Southwest territory. Yeah. And I know that people can follow along that journey on social media, right? You have a little Instagram account that you cook up?
Yeah, so I want to talk about that for just a second. At the same time, when I moved out to Texas for Diadem, again, didn't have a tennis background, okay? And I had a little bit of success in sales before that. But when I moved out to Texas, I didn't know how this was going to go, okay? I was confident in myself. I knew my dad was a dairy farmer up in upstate New York, so he taught me a work ethic. But I didn't know how it was going to work out there. I didn't know what was going to happen. Again, I told you the one meeting, they looked at the tennis racket like it was a baseball bat, so I didn't know how it was going to go. So I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go, but I know this. If I show that I'm out there on the road hustling and bustling and getting out there and showing my travels around Texas, at least Diadem knows I'm out there grinding, because I didn't know if the sales were going to come as a result. Sometimes you can do things as hard, and the tennis players know this. No matter how hard you work, you sometimes don't get the result. But again, it's that seed that you're planting for future things down the road. So that hard work will pay off. It may not pay off the way that you want it to, but it does pay off. So anyways, back to the social media. So I made an Instagram account.
Yep.
And I don't really like social media in the first place. Social media has its presence out there, but I don't like to be on social media. But I was like, hey, I'm going to make a Diadem Texas Instagram. And I'm just going to document my travels and kind of check in where I'm traveling to. And I just started posting these videos, and the co-founder, Evan, saw the video, and I posted one. And he goes like, I love this. This is gold. And then Michael also saw, like, this is great. It's great to see you hustling out there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they actually enjoy it. All of a sudden, the country clubs I was visiting, their directors started following me on Instagram. I'm like, okay, so not only are just like my bosses seeing that I'm out there hustling, grinding for the brand, but also my accounts are following this as well. So I'm day in and day out pounding the phones to make sure that more Diadem is out into the market. But then when your accounts are following you and saying like, oh, I wonder what Corbin's doing today. I wonder where Corbin is. I think they know the next time I call them, they're like, hey, at least this is a rep that's hustling, grinding right now. So maybe I'm going to take his call this time and, talk about bringing more Diadem into our club or our shop. So it was a process. It was a purpose behind that. I think another piece of encouragement we can give the junior tennis players and the coaches out there is just what you're doing today, do it with a purpose.
Yeah, that's great.
Have a reason why you're doing that today. So I think that's something that I met with that. I don't just post the videos just to post videos. I post the videos, say like, hey, like we're out here visiting this club today, and they have some a beautiful facility, but also they're really impressed with the Diadem ball, so we're thanking them for their business. Thank you so much. So again, there was a purpose behind making that Instagram, which again, it's Diadem Sports Texas on Instagram.
That's perfect. Now, make sure you guys follow along to see Corbin and his team and everything they do as they continue to grow Diadem in the Southwest. This was a great episode, I think, to kind of break up some of the tennis monotony, but still learn a lot of great lessons. I think Corbin's a wealth of knowledge and experience, and he really lives an intentional life where he's applying those things and getting better every day, which is something I think is really great.
Be better than you were yesterday. That's all you have to focus on. Be better than you were yesterday. You'll be just fine.
Bang, that's right, everybody. That was another episode of Courtside Sessions. We'll be coming at you again soon from the Courtside Sessions studio here in Pompano Beach, Florida. As always, special thank you to our production team for everything they do to make these episodes possible. And make sure you guys are following us along on social media at Diadem Sports, at Diadem Pickleball, and
Diadem Sports Texas.
Bang, see you guys soon.